traders, Gary Wagner here, just about 1:30 in Honolulu, 6:30 in New York. It is Friday, March the 2nd, 2018, and this is the Daily Report for Gold and Silver, our weekend review. Extreme volatility began the week as we saw both the U.S. equities markets and gold drift substantially lower. We did see a recovery, however, beginning yesterday in gold, and gold today closed up about $5 on the day at $13.23, and that's after reaching a low yesterday of approximately $13.03. Silver up about 4 cents at $16.53, and that was all helped by a weaker U.S. dollar today, down about 33 points at 89.94. Interesting action in the Dow, losing about 1,000 points throughout this week, but recovering as we went into the close today. The Dow finished almost unscathed, down 70 points at 24,538, and that was with the S&P 500 along with the NASDAQ composite closing higher on the day. Finally, Bitcoin futures closed above 11,000, 11,050, and 11,035 in their respective futures contracts. It is absolutely clear when we look at price activity and price changes for this week, we see an extremely volatile time, not only in U.S. equities, but also in the precious metals markets. We had statements that were made on Tuesday by newly appointed Chairman of the Federal Reserve, Jerome Powell, that resulted in a pretty dynamic sell-off in gold, as well as some extremely exaggerated lower pricing yesterday when President Trump came out and proposed tariffs on both steel and aluminum. We are looking at a daily chart, this being spot. Yesterday's activity came close to our current target, which was a 50% retracement occurring roughly at 1301, and dramatically recovered as we went into the close. Today, we did have a continuation of that recovery, with gold finishing off about $5 above where we fixed the price at on Thursday's trading activity. We currently have gold trading at $13.2230. And that, of course, is basis the spot market. When we look at most active futures, we can see that that closed at $13.2370. They're showing a net change of $18.50. However, the net change is different because they put the close at the bottom of yesterday's trading range. If you recall from Tuesday, we commented about the fact that the statements made by Jerome Powell had a devastating impact on current gold pricing and created some major chart damage as we saw gold break below the support trend line that we created from the low back in December, and then attaching that to the low of the first week of February and carrying that forward. Another technical indication that Tuesday's action resulted in some major chart damage is the closing price on Tuesday fell below the 50-day moving average for the first time in 2018. And up until today's action, we had consistent closes below the 50-day moving average. That, of course, was followed by dramatically lower pricing yesterday when Trump came out with his proposal to implement tariffs on steel and aluminum. That took the market to an intraday low of approximately $13.03. However, we saw a quick and decisive recovery in gold pricing towards the last part of the trading day yesterday as the market recovered from 1302 and then closed at 1319. As traders and investors took a closer look at Trump's statement, they realized that if by chance that proposal is implemented, it would have a profound impact on the global economy. That would create uncertainty. The second thing is that a tariff would most likely create a trade war. That trade war would result in substantially higher pricing for consumer goods here in the United States, and that would be extremely inflationary. And that is why we saw such a quick and decisive pivot or turnaround. Today, we did have follow-through buying in the market, with the market closing up about $5 higher, just below the 50-day moving average, but within striking distance of taking that price point out next week. Therefore, my forecast right now is if we see gold pricing open solidly next week and trade above the 50-day moving average, it would signal a return to a bullish rally mode, and I would look for higher pricing throughout next week. And traders, as far as Bitcoin and Bitcoin futures go, I have over the last couple of weeks become bullish once again. Of course, we saw this market go to an extreme high at about 20,000 till regulatory fears took this market substantially lower and created a cascading effect in which we saw a decline in price of well over 50%. The market did find support at 6,000 as those regulatory fears subsided, and we had a nice bounce back up to 11,800, followed by a shallow retracement, taking the market back to about 9,300. However, over this last week, we've seen a pretty dynamic recovery. We have seen the range begin to contract, which I believe in the case of Bitcoin is actually good because we want the volatility to subside. And I think that next week we will probably see a play for these most recent highs of 11,600 and potentially take them out. Traders, it was all about a statement made, a proposal made by President Trump yesterday in which he wants to implement tariffs on both steel and aluminum. That really shook up the market. We saw the Dow plunge. We saw gold pricing go dramatically lower until analysts as well as traders realized that should that happen, we would most certainly get a price war. That price war would ramp up the level of uncertainty and also really ratchet up the price of consumer goods, which would be extremely inflationary and bullish for gold. That's why we saw key reversals starting on Thursday and ending today. I am looking for higher prices in gold next week. This has been Gary Wagner, wishing you as always good trading. And that's the way it is, March 2nd, 2018.